Amen. Today's gospel lesson comes from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 12, verse 13 through 21. Now listen to the gospel. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Friend, who sent me to be a judge or arbitrator over you?" And he said to them, "Take care, be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." Then he told them a parable. The land of a rich man produced abundantly. And he thought to himself, "What should I do, for I have no place to store my crops?" Then he said, "I will do this. I will pull down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I said to my soul, 'Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool! This very night your life is being demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be?' So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich toward God." Amen. Let's pray. Father, we come before you, we empty our hearts and minds to be filled by your grace and love and your word. So come and speak into our heart through your Spirit, and I pray, may the word of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be preached in your eyes, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. We all forget things, just like the rich man or rich fool in today's story. Some of you have heard this story before, but I feel like I have to share this. To help save economy, the government will announce next month that the immigration department will start deporting seniors instead of illegals in order to lower Social Security and Medicare cost. Older people are easier to catch and will not remember how to get home. Get back home. Be sure to let your friends and relatives know so that they will know what happened to you. And I started crying when I thought of you. Then it dawned on me, "Oh crap, I'll see you on the bus." If this, not including ourselves when we count, is an accident or can be considered simply a mistake, as we get older, we lose our ability to remember things, even if it's not real amnesia. There is a story about a city dweller who was visiting relatives on a farm, and the farmer gave a whistle and his dog herded the cattle into the corral, then latched the gate with her paw. "Wow, that's some dog. What's her name?" The forgetful farmer thought a minute, then asked, "What do you call that flower? That red flower that smells good and has thorns on the stem?" "A rose?" "That's it." The farmer turned to his wife. "Hey Rose, what do you call this dog?" I was laughing at first when I read the story. Then I stopped because I realized that can be my story, in the future as well. The title of today's sermon is The Fatal Forgetting, which is taken from a deceased Harvard professor, François Bon's famous commentary on Luke. So what's forgotten in today's story? What's the point of this story? The lectionary gives us today's text as one unit, as many New Testament scholars treat it. But actually, it's two stories loosely put together. First is verse 13 through 15, where a man asks Jesus to divide up the inheritance with his brother. Second is verse 16 through 21, where Jesus tells a parable of rich man, famously known or infamous, the rich fool, who harvests a lot, plans to build big houses to eat, enjoy, and be happy, and yet forgets the fact that his life can end in any seconds. So let's dig a little bit deeper into these stories to find what's really there. So in the first story, a man in the crowd says to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." And it can sound awkward, even bizarre, hearing a random person asking Jesus to divide his family's asset. Jesus is neither a realtor nor a lawyer, but actually he was doing a right thing, because in the first century Palestine, in Jewish society, if there is a family dispute on inheritance, you go to where? You go to whom? A rabbi. So he called Jesus what? By what? In verse 13, in the first verse, he called him teacher. Right? Teacher, which means a rabbi. So he got the right person. And we don't know exactly who this person is, but we can trace his identity. Making some informed guesses. First, he is probably one of the two brothers, likely younger one, who wished to divide up his father's inheritance. In Hebrew law, the firstborn gets bigger portion than his younger brother, and daughters get what? Nothing. Sorry, nothing. None of it if they have brothers who would keep their father's property. Second, his father probably passed away while not leaving the precise will, telling them how to divide and distribute the inheritance among his sons. Actually, it was possible, though not favored at all, for a son to ask his father to give his inheritance while the father is still alive. Like we see where, in what parable? Remember? The parable of the prodigal son, right? The son, the younger one, comes to the father and says, "Father, give me the inheritance, give me the portion that will be designated to me." So here is a man wanting to take his rightful portion, inheritance, from his older brother, and asking a rabbi, Jesus, to settle the family dispute. And here is Jesus responding. He said, "Friend, who sent me to be a judge or arbitrator over you?" So does Jesus like him bringing up this issue to him? Does he like it or does not like it? He does not like it. Jesus calls him friend, but this translation, this NRSV translation, doesn't really express what the original Greek word anthrope tries to convey here, which is vocative form of man. Anthropos is man in Greek, so anthrope is like vocative, it's like man. I like François Bourbon's translation that is, "Hey you." No, anthrope is like man. It's like, "Hey you." He was so disturbed by his request that he turned to the crowd and told them, "Take care, be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." As if he is rebuking him in front of the crowd, in front of the people. Then he gives the parable of the rich fool, which we all know. But let me ask you a question. Let me ask you, why is he a fool? Have you thought about it? He worked hard, he saved a lot, and now he has his retirement plan well laid out. Right? Is he really a fool? And people call him a fool, or your Bible, titled him, it's like, rich fool. But I would say the better adjective that will describe him is not fool, but the better adjective is American. He's a good American, ideal American. His monologue, I would say to my soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry. Sound like American dream to me. When I was in college, I read a book on personal finance and investment. The author said, what would give you comfort and security when you are retired? It's what? It's your money in the bank or investment. In my youthful, it's like back in 2000, back in 1999. In my youthful and naive mind, I thought, what an idiot. What an idiot. It's really worth, putting it down in words, writing it down. Because I expected something higher, noble. But now I'm older and things like, he's right. The problem, my friends, is not so much in earning, but in forgetting. Not so much in earning, but in forgetting. The rich man is so focused on earning and saving that he forgets two things. First, our life is limited. Our life is limited. And I don't want to be fatalistic or pessimistic, like you never know when you will die. It can happen, anytime. It can happen today or tomorrow. I've been getting lately through conference newsletter instant connections, a lot of emails on, people's passing away. Almost every week. It's just amazing, one person after another. But I believe there is reason for human finitude and fragility, that is to help us remember that there is a greater reality. That is to help us to remember that there is a greater reality we ought to live in here on earth, that is God's kingdom. Our life is limited. So there is another reality that we ought to live in, that is God's kingdom. So the first fatal forgetting is our life is limited. The second thing we often forget, the second fatal forgetting, is that we are happy when we share rather than divide. Human greed knows no bounds. In antiquity, a joke about greed went around. The height of greed, it was said, it is when a man makes out his will and puts down whose name? His own name, as that of the inheritor. Last Tuesday, my family went to Sabres after dinner, not to buy anything, but to entertain Luke or exhaust him. So we went where? All the way back. All the way back where toys are displayed or destroyed, you know what I mean? It's all over the place. And as usual, he began taking out and collecting cars. Anything with wheels, he liked it. So he began taking out and collecting cars from there and playing with them. Then a boy came, about his age, and began parking those cars in line. And I thought, That's not good. Why? Because there'll be tension rising, right? These two boys like the cars. Then I saw Luke. He began picking up as many cars as possible to make sure that they belong to him. Right? But guess what happened? The more he tried to grab, the more cars fell on the ground, right? It was so funny. I told him, it's like, look, there's a lot here. There's a lot. Then why don't you share? But he didn't want to. Not realizing that none will be his. Right? None will be his. Yeah, right? My but it's falling out. But isn't this, my friend, my family in Christ, isn't this our story as well? Being so caught up with what we think we know, we need, that we forget that we will take none of it in the end. Right? How often we are so caught up with what we think we know that we forget that we'll take none of it in the end. God said to the rich man, "You fool, this very night, your life is being demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be?" What would have happened to Luke and the boy if they had shared the toys that evening? They would have had so much fun without anxious eyes looking at each other, arguing or grabbing stuff, although they took none of them and went home that very night. I truly believe so. Amen. Let's pray. God, we admit that we've been forgetting things, not just what happened before, but what will happen to us and what matters to us most. Thank you for reminding us that our life is limited. We are not going to be here forever, and we are to live something for greater than this, something far greater than this, higher and more. That is to realize your kingdom here. Help us to be also reminded that true happiness, true joy is found in sharing, not dividing, in living together, not living separately, so that we may also give ourselves to others, just as Christ Jesus has given himself to us. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.